my name's Eva and welcome to this channel. Today I'm talking about one of my all-time favorite things, and that is sexual communication, otherwise known as how to talk to your partners about what you want sexually. I'm super excited for this video and I hope that I can give tips that apply for you if you are in any type of relationship situation, casual sex relationship, one night stand, if you are married to your humans, because sexual communication is super important and can be awesome in all types of relationships. I'm going to start from way before you have sex to after you have sex and give you some tips for all along the way. So let's get into it. So let's get started with kind of a general brainstorm. So this is not right before you're about to have a sexual encounter, but when you're kind of either getting to know or starting that conversation with the person that you want to have sex with. This brainstorming can look a bunch of different ways. One of them is to do a want, will, won't list. Just generally writing down all these sex acts that you can possibly think of that you would possibly be interested in. If you don't know what a want, will, won't list, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is writing down a list of all the things you want to do, you will do, and you won't do. Some people also call this a yes, no, maybe list, and if you are at a loss for a bunch of sex acts to put on the list, Lindsay Doe also has an awesome video about 150 sex acts, which will get your creative juices flowing for sure. So you can do this on paper, you and your partner can do them individually and then sit down and kind of talk about them together. Another way you can do this if you are kind of worried about bearing your soul to your partner is this really cool website called Mojo Upgrade, which allows you to do it on the computer, and then they will map you and your partner's responses onto each other and only reveal to you which things you both were wanting and willing to do. So you don't need to worry about the rejection if you mention something and your partner is not that into it. Another quick way to figure out what your partner likes and dislikes sexually and kind of determine whether you're sexually compatible at all is to ask them my favorite 3 questions. The first one is, what do you think is the most underrated sex act? And then overrated, and then correctly rated. This can be done in kind of like a flirty way if you're talking to someone that you picked up at a bar and you want to kind of get some information about what they like sexually, if you guys are going to head home together, or if you're just kind of nervous about broaching the subject in general, this can be a really easy way to start the conversation. Another part of the general brainstorming, collecting information about your partner's preferences, is talking about how they like to refer to their body parts and what terms they like for themselves, just to make sure that you say all the ones that they like, because having a partner use a term that doesn't really jive with you can be a big turnoff, so you definitely don't want to do that. You can also do this list sharing via text or some other type of social media, but if you do share like this, I would recommend that for step 2, you communicate in person. Step 2. This is when you talk right before you're about to have your sexual encounter. So every time you have sex, you're not going to want the exact same thing. You're not going to want to do necessarily everything that you wrote down on your want, will, won't list. So right before you have sex, you can revisit that want, will, won't list and talk about what you want this time. Let's do some examples. Let's say that this person has written down they love making out, they love dry humping, they are into spanking, they like oral sex both on their partner and on them, and they like finger banging. But for some different scenarios, one scenario could be that they're feeling kind of bloated and don't really want to take their clothes off or do any genital things, but they do want to make out and dry hump a lot. So, you see how the 2 conversations are important because you have the whole list of possibilities, but then you're creating a unique experience from them each time. Moving on to step 3. So you've had the big conversation, and also to note, the big list of things, you can check in on that over time too. If there's a new kink that you're getting into, or your body's changing and you don't feel super into one thing anymore, definitely you can revisit that big old list that does not need to be static. But you've done that, you've had the conversation before getting sexy with your partner, now it's time to have the sexy times. How you're going to be communicating throughout that is checking in with your partner using verbal and nonverbal consent cues, and I've made a whole video about 20 ways to ask for consent, and these are really good tips for this step 3. Now on to the last step, step 4. Funnily enough, sexual communication doesn't end after you're finished your sexual encounter. You can be talking about what you really liked about it, what you want to do for next time, what you don't really want to do again, and this can happen in person, over technology, or both for extra clarity. As well, the sandwich method can be really helpful for this type of constructive feedback session. That means giving a "this was really good," "this was less good," and then "this was really good" again, so that your partner feels cushioned by compliments. So while that is the end of my 4 tips, I do have some extra 2 tips about how to make this conversation easier. The first one is talk about the conversation you're having. That sounds confusing, but for example, you can say, "Hey, I'm really excited to talk to you about what we're gonna do the next time we see each other, but I'm feeling nervous about you judging me about some of the things that I'm interested in." When you have that type of meta communication, your partner can kind of prepare themselves for what you're about to say, and they can help understand your perspective a little bit better. My second tip is less of a tip and more of just, I know that sexual communication is really hard. Our society and our sex education does not make us feel like it's okay to talk about sex. So by the time we get to the point where we need to be talking to our partners, we really don't have the comfort or the skills to do that. So I know that this is tough, but just, every time you practice doing one of these 4 steps, you are improving your sex life. So even though it might be tough or awkward or scary, I believe in you. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you feel more confident in your ability to communicate your sexual wants and wishes. Leave a comment below letting me know which of the 4 steps you're going to focus on the next time you have a sexual encounter, so that it can be extra great. But yes, that is all for me today. Like this video if you like it, subscribe if you aren't already. Have a lovely day!